like to thank Hayden Howback. He cleaned up the city's mess from last night's festivities, which was still out. That was lovely. And I'm sure that if Chuck doesn't have a cardiologist, he will after seeing that. I'd like to specifically thank some of our members who are reading abroad. Helen Liggett is in Eureka, Kansas. Lorna McMillan in Edmond, Oklahoma. Dwight McDonald reading in Dimmitt. In Brownfield, Littlefield, and Levelland, we have Rocky Ramirez reading. In Lamesa, we have Lori Key reading. In Tahoka, Douglas Freetag is reading. And I'd like to thank Rocky Lee Craig for providing all of the free U.S. flags to the kids. So let's give them a round of applause. I'd also like to thank our readers here. It's one thing to get up and talk to a jury of people that hopefully you don't know, but to do so in front of judges, district attorneys, friends and family, it sometimes just gets a little overwhelming. Right now and throughout the day, members of the Texas Criminal Defense Lawyers Association are joining us reading the Declaration of Independence on the courthouse steps throughout this great state. In 1776, our forefathers signed the Declaration of Independence. Embodied in that document were certain ideals that they believed should form the bedrock of a fledgling nation, including life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. The ratification of the Bill of Rights in 1791 provided a mechanism to fulfill the ideas that those same forefathers fought and died for. Among those were the right to free speech and press, the right to be free from unreasonable search and seizure, and the right to due process of law. These were not and are not merely words. They are the bedrock principles of a free people, and we, as a free people, must be ever vigilant of those that wish to diminish them. With that, I'd like to introduce Avery Stengel to read the Star Spangled Banner. Sing the Star Spangled Banner.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Ladies and gentlemen, the Declaration of Independence.
When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth the separate and equal station which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitle them, a decent respect to the opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them to separation.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, and that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed.
That whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it, and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its powers in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Prudence, indeed, will dictate that governments long established should not be changed for light and transient causes, and accordingly, all experience hath shown that mankind are more disposed to suffer, while evils are sufferable, than to right themselves by abolishing the forms to which they are accustomed. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object and vices, designed to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security.
Such has been the patient sufferance of those colonies, and such is now the necessity which constrains them to alter their former systems of government. The history of the present King of Great Britain is a history of repeated injuries, usurpations, all having in direct object the establishment of an absolute tyranny over these states. To prove this, let facts be submitted to a candid world.
He has refused his assent to laws, the most wholesome and necessary for the public good. He has forbidden his governors to pass laws of immediate and pressing importance, unless suspended in their operation till his assent should be obtained. And when so suspended, he has utterly neglected to attend them.
He has refused to pass other laws for the accommodation of large districts of people, unless those people would relinquish the right of representation in the legislature, a right inestimable to them and formidable to tyrants only.
He has called together legislative bodies at places unusual, uncomfortable, and distant from the depository of their public records, for the sole purpose of fatiguing them into compliance with his measures. He has dissolved representative houses repeatedly, proposing with manly firmness his invasions on the rights of the people.
He has refused for a long time, after such dissolutions, to cause others to be elected, whereby the legislative powers, incapable of annihilation, have returned to the people at large for their exercise, the state remaining in the meantime exposed to all dangers of invasion from without and convulsions within.
He has endeavored to prevent the population of these states, for that purpose obstructing the laws for naturalization of foreigners, refusing to pass others to encourage their migrations hither, and raising the conditions of new appropriations of land. He has obstructed the administration of justice by refusing his assent to laws for establishing judiciary powers.
He has made judges dependent on his will alone for the tenure of their offices and the amount and payment of their salaries. He has erected a multitude of new offices and sent hither swarms of officers to harass our people and eat out their substance.
He has kept among us in times of peace standing armies without the consent of our legislatures. He has affected to render the military independent of and superior to the civil power.
He has combined with others to subject us to a jurisdiction foreign to our Constitution and unacknowledged by our laws, giving his assent to the acts of the pretended legislation, for quartering large bodies of armed troops among us.
For protecting them by mock trial from punishment for any murders which they should commit on the inhabitants of these states, for cutting off our trade with all parts of the world.
imposing taxes on us without our consent, for depriving us in many cases of the benefits of a trial by jury, for transporting us beyond seas to be tried for pretend offenses,
for abolishing the free system of English laws in neighboring province, establishing therein an arbitrary government, and enlarging its boundaries so as to render it one an example and fit instrument for introducing the same absolute rule into these colonies.
Taking away our charters, abolishing our most valuable laws, and for altering fundamentally the forms of our governments, for suspending our own legislatures and declaring themselves invested with the power to legislate for us in all cases whatsoever.
He has abdicated government here by declaring us out of his protection and waging war against us. He has plundered our seas, ravaged our coast, burnt our towns, and destroyed the lives of our people.
He is at this time transporting large armies of foreign missionaries to complete the works of death, dissolution, and tyranny, already begun with circumstances of cruelty and perfidy scarcely paralleled in the most barbarous ages, and totally unworthy the head of a civilized nation.
He has constrained our fellow citizens, taken captive on the high seas, to bear arms against their country, to become the executioners of their friends and brethren, or to fall themselves by their hands.
Has incited domestic insurrections amongst us and has endeavored to bring on the inhabitants of our frontiers the merciless Indian savages, whose known rule of warfare is an undistinguished destruction of all ages, sexes, and conditions.
In every stage of these oppressions, we have petitioned for redress in the most humble terms. Our repeated petitions have been answered only by repeated injury. A prince whose character is thus marked by every act which may define a tyrant is unfit to be the ruler of a free people.
Nor have we been wanting in attentions to our British brethren. We have warned them from time to time of attempts by their legislature to extend an unwarrantable jurisdiction over us. We have reminded them of the circumstances of our immigration and settlement here. We have appealed to their native justice and magnanimity. We have conjured them by the ties of our common kindred to disavow these usurpations, which would inevitably interrupt our connections and correspondence.
They too have been deaf to the voice of justice and of consanguinity. We must therefore acquiesce in the necessity which denounces our separation, and hold them as we hold the rest of mankind, enemies in war and in peace friends. We, therefore, the representative of the United States of America in General Congress, assembled appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions, do in the name and by authority of the good people of these colonies solemnly publish and declare that these united colonies are, and of right ought to be, free and independent states, that they are absolved from all allegiance to the British Crown, and that all political connection between them and the state of Great Britain is and ought to be totally dissolved, and that as a free and independent state, they have full power to levy war, conclude peace, contract alliances, establish commerce, and to do all other acts and things such, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor.
Please join me in singing God Bless America. God bless America, land that I love, stand beside her
The Declaration of Independence was first published July 4th, 1776, 243 years ago. But it took a while for the colonies to hear the good news. There was no television, there was no radio, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter. There were newspapers, but 50% of the population could not read. And so broadsides, big pieces of paper, parchment, were brought to places like this, city halls, town squares, courthouses like this, and the Declaration was read just as we have read it today. It was followed by 7 years of terrible war, and the colonies finally gained their independence from Britain in 1783. 4 years later, the United States Constitution was ratified, and 4 years after that, the Bill of Rights was ratified in 1791. The similarities between the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights are truly remarkable. In fact, the Bill of Rights was designed to prevent each of the tyrannical abuses described in the Declaration. In the Declaration, the signers were saying, here's what we hate about British rule, and here's why we need to be free from British rule. In the Bill of Rights, the signers were saying, here's how the people of the United States of America will never be subjected to the abuses described in the Declaration. Both documents target absolute tyranny. Both documents are designed to protect the people from government excesses. Both documents identify a people void of class or privilege, yet demanding righteous human treatment. The Bill of Rights contains the rules, the tools that we lawyers use every day in this courthouse and in courthouses across the land to protect the individual liberties that our forefathers fought for in the Revolutionary War. And we continue that fight for individual liberties each and every day. Independence Day is to celebrate our liberty and to remind us to always keep vigilant in that fight. So, here we give you our Bill of Rights. The First Amendment gives us freedom of speech, press, religion, peaceable assembly, and to petition the government.
Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech, or of the press, or of the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances.
The Second Amendment establishes the right of the people to keep and bear arms, as well as to maintain a militia.
A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed.
The Third Amendment provides protection from the quartering of troops.
No soldier shall, in time of peace, be quartered in any house without the consent of the owner, nor in time of war, but in a manner to be prescribed by law.
The Fourth Amendment protects us from unreasonable searches and seizures.
The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue but upon probable cause, supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized.
The Fifth Amendment gives us due process, protection from double jeopardy and self-incrimination, I know this, and the right to private property.
No person shall be held to answer for any capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land, naval forces, or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy for a life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation.
The Sixth Amendment affords the right to trial by jury and other rights to those accused of crimes.
In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed to the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with witnesses against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and to have assistance of counsel for his defense.
The Seventh Amendment affords the right to jury trial in civil lawsuits.
In suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law.
The Eighth Amendment prohibits excessive bail as well as cruel and unusual punishment.
Excessive bail shall not be required, nor excessive fines imposed, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted.
The Ninth Amendment protects our rights not specifically enumerated in the Bill of Rights.
The enumeration in the Constitution of certain rights shall not be construed to deny or disparage others retained by the people.
And the 10th Amendment describes the powers of the states and the powers of the people.
The powers not delegated to the United States by the Constitution, nor prohibited by it to the states, are reserved to the states, respectively, or to the people.
All right, one last song, guys. Feel free to sing along. This land is your land. Kiddos, if you've got flags and want to come up and join me, come on. This land is your land. This land is my land. From California to New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. As I was walking that ribbon of highway, I saw above me that endless skyway. I saw below me that golden valley. This land was made for you and me. I've roamed and rambled, I've followed my footsteps to the sparkling sands of her diamond deserts, and all around me a voice was sounding. This land was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. When the sun came shining and I was strolling, and the wheat fields waving, the dust clouds rolling, as the fog was lifting, a voice was chanting. This land was made for you and me. As I went walking, I saw a sign there, and on the side it said no trespassing, but on the other side it said nothing. That sign was made for you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. In the shadow of the steeple, I saw my people. By the relief office, I saw my people. As they stood there hungry, I stood there asking, is this land made for you and me? Nobody living can ever stop me as I go walking that freedom highway.
you and me. This land is your land, this land is my land. From California to the New York Island, from the Redwood Forest to the Gulf Stream waters. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
That's Sarah Gunter. We want to thank her for her music, as well as Zach Snyder, who provided the accompaniment and the sound equipment. Avery Stengel, also for her rendition of Star Spangled Banner. I want to thank Rusty Gunter, our organizer of this event. This is our 9th annual reading of the Declaration. I hope y'all will come back next year and the year after that. So have a happy Independence Day. Y'all who are members of the Lubbock Criminal Defense Lawyers Association, children of members and grandchildren of members, assemble on the courthouse steps for a photograph, please. Thank you.